Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Come talk some Sixers with us. Big win.
Let's go. This ain't the fuck night. Austin stinking, he stinks.
Oh shit!
It's gone.
Folks, Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Welcome in, everybody. It's the A2D Radio Sixers post-game show. That's Ryan Brodo. I'm Tom Arnone. Every post-game show is brought to you by FanUp. FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use our promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp, you can find them right on the Apple Store. Comments of the night we'll do later on in the show. We'll do that. We're going to do that more than later on. I mean, we're always reading your comments, and nobody panic out there. Losers of the game, it's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. We're going to have to lift up a lot of rocks for the loser of the game. Winner of the game, plenty to choose from, and our gut reactions is always our main topic in hand, and that's brought to you by Manscaped, and you get 20% off and free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your goddamn life, right? Do it and use our promo code A2D and get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Gut reactions. Family out there listening, let us know what your gut reactions were tonight. Watching this game, watching a huge win that hopefully set a tone for your playoffs. Now, listen, the old adage is, you lose Monday, this doesn't matter. So, you're on to the next one. And as fans, right, we're allowed to soak it in a little bit longer than players do, right? As a player, when you wake up the next day, that one's over, right? And you got to prepare for Monday. As us, hey, we run down Broad or get hit by a car running down Broad one way or the other when we talk our teams here in Philadelphia, right? Okay, it's one way or the other. We're even getting smoked by a semi-tractor trailer, okay, running down Broad, or we're just running because we're feeling great. So it's one way or the other. And my gut reactions from tonight is simple. When your best player and best scorer is your fourth leading scorer and you beat up on somebody in the playoffs, that's extremely impressive to me. That's extremely impressive. And it's stuff we talked about sort of all year long, and especially after we got Harden, some of the evident flows that have gone on, that if you can find the hot hand, and they did a great job of that tonight when you talk about getting the ball to Maxey and getting Tobias involved. They did a really good job tonight, and that's what damn good basketball teams do. You don't want to call them great because they haven't cut nets down, but that's what damn good basketball teams do, and I'm really, my initial reaction to that is growth, right? I feel really good about the growth of this basketball team and sort of their playoff smarts, because it's a different game, right? It's a different game in the postseason, right? So you've seen that, and you've seen Joel with no turnovers, right? So Joel had no turnovers and had a ton of pressure on him, right? And was able to kick for good looks. So, I mean, and my gut reaction is, if you're not going to get Tyrese Maxey doing this nightly like this, right? Because this is a great night. It's a phenomenal night. But, my gut reactions is like, now he has the playoff confidence in his first playoff start. So, that growth can happen real quick. And I'm hoping it does, because listen, if this guy can do similar stuff like this in the postseason, this becomes an extremely tough basketball team to beat, right? It comes down to who's going to be your three. And on a night where your best player, I keep saying this. Your best player had 19 points. 19 points. So your fourth leading goddamn scorer, and you roll somebody. And your energy and effort from the first quarter tonight, it's also my gut reaction to it, right? Right? Their energy was right on point. It was right on point from tip-off, right? They wanted to out-rebound you. Joel was a monster on the glass early on in this basketball game, and you saw it. You saw the energy. Can you match their energy? And we absolutely did tonight. Now, listen, it's a 7-game series, so you got to go match energy again, right? You can't rest on your laurels and come postseason basketball. But if you're talking about an extremely impressive win to kickstart this postseason, this is it right here. I mean, it should be a confidence builder on the way. If you move the basketball, if you don't get stagnant with the basketball, right, and you do those things, this basketball team is extremely hard to beat. Why? Because they have a big man that can drop 30 on you, and he didn't even do it yet. And we bent you over here. We bent you over. So, I mean, I would expect a lot of people to be excited tonight, right? You have to take care of more, right? It's not over. This postseason's not over. But what we need to be able to do is continue this. Like, we're not going to not turn the basketball over, right, the rest of this series. Like, that's unrealistic, okay? But we still have to play team basketball. And I really like what James Harden did tonight, getting guys involved. That's huge. I mean, he's your point guard. So at the end of the day, I know we want him to score, and I'll take 22 all day. Like, I'll take 22 and 14 every night, and especially the 22 in substance of 4 for 7 from 3. That's the big factor. That's a huge factor, because now everybody and their mother feels like they have to close out on you. And that first 3 he made in the first quarter really set the tone for the rest of the game, because now you have to get bodies around him. And you guys see it at home. We all watch it. We all got our binoculars. We watch a guy every time he drives the lane. How many people collapse on him? Because if you do go one-on-one, he's going to use his body, probably create a foul, right, and make a bucket on you. So you have to, like, bring pressure to him, even if he's not the same guy he was 4 years ago, right? You still have to try to stop him and contain him. And his vision that he used tonight to get Tobias looks, to get Maxey looks early on, right? Listen, I can't say enough good things about a supposedly selfish guy. I can't say enough good things about, him running an offense. So I'm extremely excited. I still will say 6. I'm not a guy that's going to, like, run from it. I don't care if you get it done earlier. You get it done earlier. You go win Monday, then that 6 becomes 5 real fast. So I'm excited. Can you bring this energy on a nightly basis in the postseason? My gut reaction from day one is, hey, thank you, because this is what we sort of were wondering at the end of the regular season, where you just, like, sort of coasting, where you sort of on cruise control, like, and not in a cop-out, where you guys just sort of on cruise control. Hey, game 1 of the playoffs, you know what it just showed me tonight? That this team flat out was on cruise control, and this is the real basketball team. Would a real Philadelphia 76ers please stand up? And they did tonight. So if I'm the rest of the Eastern Conference after one game, I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, if they get this kind of production from these two guys, we might as well just all pack our bags. Now, will they get that nightly? I don't know. But they got it for one night, and it's a big start.
The rest of the conferences, they're thinking, oh, wait, did the Sixers wake up? Are they awake now? Because I hear you with the coasting thing, right, Tom? And throughout all the post games and shows we've done for the last handful of weeks, when people have said, oh, is Harden coasting? Are they coasting? We kind of put that aside, not because, we didn't want to supply a cop-out for things that they were just doing wrong. But the biggest thing tonight, that if this continues, if this is any indication of what you're going to see going forward for however long this series is, and hopefully multiple series for the Sixers, is, were they coasting on the defensive end? Were they coasting on lackadaisical turnovers, not being careful with the basketball? And especially when I go back to the defensive end, rebounding. You and I have talked numerous times, both on air and off air, the last handful of weeks, and why I think the biggest reasons, aside from not really knowing what the James Harden is as far as what we're going to get in the playoffs, is our weaknesses matched the Raptors' strengths, at least on paper. And what we've been seeing as of recently is that we've been really struggling on the glass in rebounding, both offensively and defensively, and our careless turnovers. And that's two things that the Raptors thrive on, because they are while they lack in skill at times, I don't think they're a skillless basketball team before anybody starts going crazy. I think they have a lot of skill. I think they're very deep. But the culture of their team, their identity of their team is they have a lot of lengthy guys who just play really friggin' hard. It doesn't matter if they're playing the Magic, the Nets, or the Sixers. They play extremely hard. Well, to your point, Tom, in the first half, and for a majority, I don't know how many turnovers they had at the end of the game. It doesn't really matter because they had all that garbage time at the end. But you had 0 turnovers through the first half. That's gigantic. And to your point, is that going to happen ever again or anything close? Probably not. But it's all about limiting it. Don't lose the turnover battle. You don't have to go 0. I mean, if you get shut out with turnovers, that's awesome. But win the turnover battle. They did that by far tonight. And the other thing, at least through the first half, which got you off to that big-time lead, that I'm sure all of us Sixers fans are like, okay, is this a lead that we're going to keep, or is this a lead that we're going to kind of say goodbye to in a couple hours? You had 25 rebounds to 15 rebounds. The Sixers out-rebounded them by 10 in the first half. That's gigantic. And the biggest thing, Tom, is, to your point, you said it before, that Joel Embiid, forget about putting up 30. He didn't put up 20. So, like everyone's saying before the postseason started, we need Embiid to average 31 and 10, 29 and 8. He had 19. And the biggest thing, like you said, it's not the points, it's not the rebounds, it's the 0 turnovers, which is gigantic.
Yeah, it's huge for him, especially with a team that sort of had his number in terms of just turning the basketball over too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Raptors have always done a really good job of scheming their defense to be able to pressure Embiid in certain spots and be able to get him to get a little jumpy and make bad decisions. And, tonight's a prime example of them not being able to do that. He made good decisions with the basketball, and then that turned into extra passes. And tonight was another prime example of when you make the extra pass as a basketball team and you trust the guy next to you. And now listen, you guys got to be good next to you. But when you trust the guys next to you to make extra passes like this team did tonight, you're going to win a lot of basketball games.
And the biggest thing, to your point, Tom, with the Joel Embiid, the lack of turnovers, 0. We talk about this for years going against the Raptors, but you saw it again tonight. Their game plan is move Joel Embiid out of the picture, smother him, make him force it up. And a guy who's consistently double, sometimes triple teamed, to come out of a game with 0 turnovers, that's just a testament to his focus. And we heard him talk about it, in their little press conference before, the series started earlier this week. But I didn't even put too much stock into that because it's one thing to talk about it, another thing to actually do it. But they said the biggest things they worked on was obviously improving on rebounding, turnovers, and Joel Embiid's singularity, just being able to work under pressure, double, triple teams, and either kick it out to a wide open guy or keep the basketball within their own possession. Because how many times did we talk about? I think the last time we literally did a post game, it was the loss to Toronto. And I think he had 5 turnovers just in the fourth quarter alone, or 4.
Yep.
So, it's gigantic. And throughout this entire time, I didn't even...
Real quick, turnovers are always a lack of focus to me.
Yeah.
Unless you stink, right? But, if you're good, turnovers become a lack of focus.
Mm-hmm. Because the biggest thing is, I didn't even mention Tyrese Maxey until this point. And the biggest thing that you talked about in your open was, again, are we expecting and projecting him to have 38 points, 14 to 21, 5 of 8 from 3, 21 points in the third quarter? No. But what I will say, okay, is I'm not going to compare him to Jordan. I'm not going to compare him to Iverson. I'm not going to do that yet. If he solidifies himself as that go-to second star, and he's going to be dependable like that, where he can have at least, he can get you at least 24, 25, changes everything. It changes everything because then, while the spotlight is still on Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tobias Harris, you're asking, and then you are now depending on a guy, second year, 21 years old, on paper supposed to be your 4th option. You're now elevating him to a status to where, like you saw tonight, Joel Embiid can just do what he does on the glass and have a pedestrian, type performance, at least in points. Doesn't matter. You blow him out. James Harden, who everyone thought, justifiably so, hey, you need him to be that second star by far. you can have him lean back and say, okay, I'm going to play a professional game where I have no turnovers. I think he had one. And just play facilitator and just lead the team in assists. He did that. And then when on the flip side too, correct me if I'm wrong, Fam, and I asked Tom this, and we were kind of thinking like, okay, maybe he's had some performances in the past. Gut reaction. Is this Tobias Harris's best playoff game of his career? I think it is. And I'm not saying he didn't have good performances in the past, but when you look at the aggressiveness he had coming out, and for once in our lives, we saw Tobias Harris get off to a hot start and continue on it. How many times have we sat here, Tom, and said, oh my God, he got off to a hot start, but then he went away from it. He stopped playing aggressive. It was like Tobias Harris gets off to a,
or he didn't get the basketball too. Like there was times that too. And they did a great job of being great teammates tonight and really sensing which two guys had the hot hands. And for tonight, it was Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. And for basketball teams to make adjustments like that, right, in the game is a huge thing. And the big thing about Maxey and why he'll continue down this road is because his speed, right? And the speed is the biggest factor when you talk about Tyrese Maxey. When you talk about, so now he can blow by anybody in the league, okay? He can take anybody in the league off the dribble because that's how quick he is, and especially his first step, okay? So you add that into the fact that he's our best three-point shooter, and that people have to then close out on that, makes him a mismatch nightmare now, okay? Because now you have to make a decision. How do I want this guy to beat me tonight? And now, will 38 happen nightly? No. But can this be a coming out party? Can this be, hey, I'm arriving? Because we talk about young guys usually don't win chips unless they're surrounded by veterans that are damn good. So remember something. We're surrounded by veterans that are damn good. Well, we got the best player in the league, arguably, who's a veteran. And we have a guy who's been in the playoffs 13 goddamn times. So, right, and it's really, as of tonight, another night of really distributing the basketball well. So you have guys around him. Tobias is a veteran. So you have the veterans around him, right? And now it's like, hey, go seize the moment. And tonight he flat out seized the moment. He was electric, and he just shows you how good he is off the dribble and getting off shots like in the paint too, like using the rim and the backboard as his friend, like just little things, man, little things. He's just too fast for anybody. And when you're this fast, good luck. And when you shoot the three ball at that kind of rate, best of luck to you tonight.
I'll just say this real quick and then Chrome go. I look at the Raptors, right? And to your point from the open, Tom, all of this goes away if the Sixers lay an egg, or it doesn't matter. If they lose game 2, this all goes away. But if I'm Nick Nurse right now, because they're going to make adjustments. That's his old MO. He's going to adjust. I mean, he did it before it even started. He went small before the series even started. If I'm in there, my fear, as much of a fear as I can have only after one game, is that they had the game plan to remove Joel Embiid, where you're going to smother him, which if you're going to smother him, that's going to leave a Tyrese Maxey open at all times. You're going to now have to adjust off of that. I'm not saying you're going to have to just single team, just one-on-one Joel Embiid to death. You're still going to see the double teams.
That early, though. That's the problem. They try going in and going just matched up, and he abused them. He abused them on the glass, and he abused them down low. And then they realized that they didn't have the size to play this game, right, against him. And that's when they started running. I guarantee, I don't know, but I assume if I went and looked at his numbers, a lot of his points came in the first quarter. Like if I had to guess, Joel Embiid.
And they were all in the paint. They were all in the paint.
I felt like he had a bunch of points in the first quarter and maybe a half, and then they started rolling guys at him.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is you're not going to even have that option to smother him if you get the quote unquote others like Tobias and Maxey going like this, especially from the perimeter. Like again, I'm not saying I'm not booking it because I'm very interested to see how they adjust, but don't be surprised if Joel Embiid, if you see that kind of adjustment, Joel goes off for 38 in game 2 or game 3. Whenever they start flooding off of him, because there's nobody that can guard him one-on-one on that team. There's nobody.
No, that's why they'll abuse him. Crum, do you have some gut reactions from being down there?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome atmosphere, and I believe he had just to answer your question, I believe he had 13 points in the first half, if I remember correctly. Joel.
I can check.
But the atmosphere was unbelievable, and just kind of picking up on a lot of what you guys said, I do agree with you, Ryan. I think this was Tobias's best playoff game that he's had, at least here. But you look at, there was one point, and it was late in the game.
21 a game here last year in the postseason.
Yeah, but some of those games were real rough, though, too.
No, it's just funny. It's just funny. Like, wow, you end up averaging 21. Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's got to score when your point guard won't even take a shot.
Right. And that's why I always said it last year. Whether he had a good or bad game, missed layups, it didn't matter to me. At least he put the effort out there on the fourth. Like, at least he was still taking shots in the fourth quarter last year.
Yeah.
I'll never knock an effort guy. But you looked, and there was at one point, so where we were sitting, we were on the side where the Sixers were on offense in the fourth quarter. And you could just see, Maxey was lighting it up, Tobias contributing, even James Harden was shooting efficiently for the most part tonight. The double team, there was a hesitation on the Raptors end to send the double team, because at this point everybody's got a hot hand, and it was almost like they were afraid, because I think it was whoever was covering Maxey. I can't remember at the time, but you could see the defender. I don't know if you can notice it on TV, but you could see the defender start to go for the double team and hesitate for a second, as if he didn't want to leave Maxey, who was scorching it at that point, open. And then he ultimately ended up committing to it. But it was just funny that you could see their defense now questioning their decisions on, should we be double teaming him now? Because this guy's doing this or this guy's doing that. And you never see that. It's always set, don't let Joel Embiid beat you, let everybody else did. But at that point, now they're beating us. Do we have to, control the hemorrhage right now? It was really fun to watch.
I think it was Fred VanVleet, Chrome. I think that was the main defender, because you saw him pick up 2 quick fouls in the first. It felt like 30 seconds, and that was on Maxey.
Actually might have been when he got his 6th foul and was fouled out of the game.
Well, and when you were talking about how he was indecisive whether he needs to stay with Maxey or then go help with the double team, there were at least 2, and I believe they both happened in that second quarter, where he went over to help with the double team, and 2 of VanVleet's fouls were when I think it was off of a rebound, maybe one it was an actual shot, where Joel went up, and it looked like the foul was on Siakam, but that's when VanVleet's coming into frame and he makes contact. So the indecisiveness not only led to them, questioning themselves, but also it led to some quick fouls also.
Yeah. No, I will take 20 and 15 from Joe every night if we can get 3 of these guys doing what they're doing. We had 4 guys going.
We came into it, right, saying, like, and again, like, we didn't have a crystal ball, but we would think, just based off of what this team has been, not only this year, but in the past, Joel needs to get close to 30. Like, it was like a necessity. If he's, like, I guarantee if you poll everybody in the country, not just Sixers fans, and you say, Joel Embiid, game 1, 19 points. Oh, they lost.
Yeah.
They lost. Just not knowing anything else. And they won by friggin' 20.
Yeah. 2 things I'll add, and then you guys go. Ryan knows this term, when a guy is over with the crowd. I have been in that stadium I was there when Allen Iverson came back to Philly for when he returned to the team for that short run at the end of his career. That crowd with Tyrese Maxey tonight was one of the loudest crowds I have ever been around. That was insane. And every time they went on offense, every time he touched the ball, it was unbelievable. And when he hit that, he looked like he was 5 feet behind the 3-point line. When he dropped that one rainmaker, that was one of the funnest moments in a crowd I've ever been a part of. I
was going to ask you about that, like, to describe that, because sitting here at the house, I screeched. Like, I was pacing around, because it was the definition of a heat check. It looked like a Dame Lillard friggin' like a Trae Young logo 3. It was healthy, and I'm like, oh my God, don't you dare. And it was flush. Is that, because I know you've been in some crazy crowds with, WWE wrestling. Where does that rank as far as crowd reaction?
That was like a top 5 crowd moment for me. And I've been in some crazy wrestling stuff. I've been to a lot of really significant sports games. I was at the NFC Championship game And that was, I'm telling you, and particularly for an individual player, that was one of the I mean, I had chills from him. Just it was the crowd going so insane, and like you couldn't see it on TV because their plays are active, but we could see how the bench was reacting to him, and then in between timeouts, and then you could see too at points like this is why James Harden. People who say this guy's not a good teammate, bullshit. I watched him a million times tonight. Pull Maxey to the side, giving him encouragement, giving him advice, and you could see it. And Maxey, he is like very intuitive to following what he was saying, and it was really special to see, you know. So I just got so at one point after he hit that three, they called the timeout and they start going over to the bench, and you see a couple of the guys. DeAndre Jordan was one of them. Literally start going like this because he was so hot, like flaming or trying to cool him. That was so great. And for a young kid like that, in that environment, that atmosphere, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's a launching point for a career for him.
Chrome, I wanted to ask you too, like, and Tom, maybe you know this also. I was trying to think of this. So obviously he goes off for 21 in the third. That little scuffle, and I'll call it a scuffle because even Doc referenced it. They were, and I think this is what you're referencing, where James was he went over to Max.
That was one of the points where, yeah, he came and pulled him to the side.
Apparently, according to Doc, Tyrese was going to fight Barnes, like he was kind of getting in his face.
Oh,
Doc,
he got up to fight.
Yeah, so my question is, because I didn't want to put this out because I didn't want to create a false narrative or anything, but that was before he went off, right? Like that was early third quarter, correct?
I believe it was.
Is this one of those, like this is where, again, tongue-in-cheek for everybody on friggin' Twitter and Instagram going crazy on us being like, oh, you can't compare him to MJ or Michael or MJ or Iverson. It's a joke. It's tongue-in-cheek. But like, I look at that, right? And I know that this guy's a competitor. That might have pissed him off. It's gonna be that. You're gonna do that to me?
It's like Spike Lee pissing off Reggie Miller in the Garden, and he went off for like 50 points.
Michael Jordan, I took it personally.
We're not putting him on that level. But
no.
I believe you're correct, and you're right at that point now. You know, when you have those kinds of situations, right? And I wanted to see with Joel with Siakam as well. That's your time to come back and respond.
Phenomenal to me.
Yes.
He went over to him to say more. Like after he blocked the shot, like he had more to say to him. And I know they're boys too. And it makes me love the competitiveness that the NBA playoffs bring, because these guys are all these guys are our friends, especially those two. And to see still of the I want to kick your ass stuff really makes me feel good about the NBA and sports as a whole in 2022. Real quick to the Maxey thing, like, listen, these guys, guys are always jacked up and ready to go in the postseason, right? They always are. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, like, if somebody fires you up, it can really lock you in. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's like, no, like it didn't bring his energy up. It just it probably made him laser focused and said, I want to go kick your ass, right? So it's not like not that anybody was saying this, just to the people out there. It's never like a guy's not ready to go. Sometimes you need a little extra, and that doesn't mean anything. That's what's great about sports is I tell my players all the time, find motivation in something. Like something's got to motivate you to fire you up to play, right? So find out what it is. So these guys always have something, but then if something happens in the game like that I even love that more. But it just shows people, like, man, be careful with guys, especially that can score, because you piss them off or get them just to chirp back. Right now, that guy is now big time engaged into a basketball game.
And to your point, Tom, especially you being a coach, you see this, especially, you try and teach this, but this isn't like when people bring up, and I'm not even just going to use like Michael Jordan or Kobe, for example, or even Iverson, because you see
brought them up many times tonight. You know what I mean? I might if you bring them up one more time, I might have to mute.
Oh, I'm going to put you in the group with that Instagram guy. Stop it.
That's three. That's three in a row, though. I mean, that's three in a row.
You put up 38 when you're 21. Listen, he's not even there yet. He's not even there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's got to be a body of work, right? So, I mean, do I trust in him to be a body of work? But I don't even want to put that kid into those names. Like, you know what I mean? Not that you are. Like, I don't even want to bring up Allen with him, because it's like, dude, I mean, this guy was going for 50 in the playoffs, carrying the team. So it's like, this guy's 21. So like, I want to allow him to grow too as a player because I know he will. You know what I mean? I know he's going to work. So like, part of me is like, dude, when he's 25, like, I don't know. All bets are off for a guy that's going to outwork the room. You know what I mean? All bets are always going to be off for a guy with a lot of talent to outwork everybody because he's a guy that's sitting at home and says, shit, somebody's working harder than me. I'm just going to go to the gym right now. He's got that kind of mentality. And when you have that kind of mentality, this goes back to coaching too. I say it all the time. When you have that kind of mentality that you feel guilty as a baseball player because you feel like somebody's getting more swings than you right now and you go start taking swings, that means the competitive drive is getting there. That means we're getting to where we want to get to. And this kid's had it from day one.
Well, the guilty thing, it's funny because that's what I was just going to bring up, that the other thing that makes me, again, laser focused, whatever you want to say, it was in the third quarter when, Toronto's going on their little mini run and they weren't missing from three. VanVleet hits a handful of rainmakers. Ochoa's making a couple. I think Trent made a couple. There was one play where it was in transition and then they pass it back out to VanVleet and Tyrese doesn't close out. And you could see it even on the broadcast. They reference it. He was visually pissed off at himself. Tyrese Maxey was. What does he do? And we always talk about the response things to Tom, and he's had it, and he continues to show that he's continuing to do it. He comes right down the court and responds with a big three of his own. And you could see him getting pissed off of himself. He's talking, and that forces a Raptors timeout. And from then on, it was like, okay, and that's really what I think from then on, I think he had 18 more points in that third quarter.
Well, so like you bring up the Iversons and Jordans, and right, and nobody's putting him in that class.
Again?
But no. Here's what I'm saying. Like I bring up a Reggie Miller, right? I will mention it in that sense of we're talking competitors, right?
Yeah.
And to me, the guys who go in and have all the motivation in the world, but go out of their way to still find something to give them that extra push to have that chip on their shoulder. Exactly. Those are the guys that I love. So that when you mention, like, I always, even more than some of them, like, I always thought of Reggie Miller as that kind of guy. Like Spike Lee. Let Spike Lee be a reason for him to go off on New York. He might have scored 35 that night, but he's like, fuck him. I'm going to keep jacking up threes. Like, there's guys who find reasons and don't need it. They're great players.
Yeah.
Or have the potential to be a great player. And you just find something.
Guys would do it like there's
go out of your way to read the paper to find something, or scroll on a guy's Twitter and say, "Hey, did they ever talk shit on me here?"
Listen,
just find something.
We played back in the day, like when I played sports. I remember our coach like handing us like different things like that was written in the paper about us, right? Or things people have said about us. So that's an age old tradition in terms of finding something somebody says, right? Or whatever it may be. Or it's on the court, something happens. Or, certain guys you don't want to chirp to. Like there's certain guys in the NBA know, hey, don't chirp to that dude, right? Because we don't know them at home who they are, right? You don't find out till like after the career. But there's definitely dudes in the NBA right now that guys know it's in game plans. Don't you chirp at him because it'll get them going. And there's a lot of guys through the history of the NBA that when you chirped, they lit your ass up. And guys learn not to chirp.
You guys are spot on, and that's Crum. You hit the nail on the head. Like that's exactly what I was going to reference. That like even guys, and I say even. I mean the guy's going to be. He's arguably one of the best defensive players. He's going to be a Hall of Famer in my opinion. Draymond Green talked about it on his podcast the other day to where any given night, whether they're playing the Magic or it's at Game 7 of the Finals, he shows up to every arena looking for. He's scanning the arena looking for the one fan, not to get him more focused, but to piss him off to make it go from a 10 to an 11. Like, okay, he's eyeing guys up. Like, who's going to piss me off tonight? And then he literally said, he's like, got him, gotcha. And then he's good. It could be an hour before the game. The arena could be empty. And he even said there could be a friggin' janitor and he doesn't like the way he's looking at him. That gets him going. That's just the competitive nature.
Well, there's guys who won't go on Twitter, right? Who block everybody. They don't do that. Or read the papers or whatever I guess online now. But there's guys who will literally do that just to read something that someone's going to take a shot at them to piss them off. How, in this series, how, VanVleet's going to, I don't know, blanket Maxey, and he's not going to be able to do this or that. Oh, okay. So VanVleet's going to be, he's going to hold me back from being able to contribute my team. Okay, let me go out and score 38 tonight. Now, I'm not saying that happened, obviously, but like examples of that where they find reasons. It doesn't even have to be like someone talks shit. It could just simply be reading an analysis of like a series, and they're like, oh, so he's better than me. Oh, okay. Let me show you then.
Well, again, I'll reference the whole response thing, right? It's how you respond to things, because any given player, any athlete can look at a Twitter post or an article or even something that's said on a podcast or on the radio for, however, and they can respond to it like a Jalen Reagor, a Ben Simmons, that I can just bring up very quickly, that they can start blocking, or they can lash out, or they can literally take their ball and go home. Or you can respond like, again, like you said, Tom, Chrome, like Maxey. There was nothing written about Maxey, but I'm sure guys like that, the best competitors, when the stage is at its brightest and you are that type of player, there's all kinds of things said, even about Joel Embiid, about LeBron, about all these guys. So where the best competitors are going to take something negative said about them, not necessarily lash out. They can. That's also great. But then they're going to back it up. And then they're going to prove, oh, you said about that? Okay, that's exactly what I needed. The whole, again, I'm going to bring up his name again, Tom. The Michael Jordan, I took it personally. That's the difference between the best competitors and guys who just don't live up to their potential.
Yeah, not trying to rain on parades either, because this is a great win. It's a great way to start our postseason off, right? And not to rain on Tyrese's parade, because I love him, but you can't follow us up with a 15er, right? So you can't come back and give me 15. You gotta still be aggressive and still get into the 20s and still trust yourself. And we're gonna get into winners here right now, and that's brought to you by BetUS. BetUS is the leading online sportsbook. They've been in the market for over 25 years. You can bet anywhere in the U.S. on everything. Use the link. It's pinned right in our comment section over on YouTube and right in the description on Facebook. And if you use that link, you get 125% sign-up bonus. That's BetUS for our winners of the game. You know what? I'm going to go with a different guy, because I know we just talked a lot about Tyrese Maxey, and he's an obvious winner. So it's like I never like taking the obvious winner. So I'm actually going to go Joel Embiid in a weird way. And what I'll talk about is how he got like every big they have in the foul trouble. He even though it didn't show up in his stat sheet, he was so aggressive early on in this basketball game that I think he like set a tone for them to feel like they had to now slow him down, because he started to like get going, and I feel like he was out rebounding everybody. He just came with a sense of urgency tonight that was really impressive to see, and I think that sort of got everybody else going. You win inside out, right? We talk about winning inside out, and I thought early on, we had some putbacks. He got guys, he went to the line a couple times, and I just thought he brought it. Like, as a leader, I want to look at you on how we're going to go, right? Like, I look at my leaders on how we're going to take things, right? And for tonight, for him to come out and just be like, I felt like he wanted to out rebound the world. Yeah. And I want to make sure I give love to that, not just love when a guy goes and drops 40 like he can every night. I want to give love to the fact that you didn't turn the basketball over, right? That you did things, that you made mistakes in the postseason in the past, and you did a tremendous job tonight of being smart with the basketball, understanding when double teams were coming, and then wanting to kick somebody's ass in the first 2 quarters of this basketball game. And, I can't be more excited to say that guy's the leader of my basketball team. Another unselfish guy, a guy who just wants to win. And tonight shows you that when your two arguably best players are, and James Harden and Joel Embiid, are unselfish and are smart with the basketball, great things can happen for this team moving forward if they continue to play great team basketball.
Go ahead, Chrome, because depending on where you go, I have 2 in my head. For me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit different here. I'm gonna go with Doc.
It's a good one.
And the reason I'm gonna go with Doc is I felt like for the first time in a long time, we saw him get the rotation right. We saw him play, seeing Paul Reed and not DeAndre Jordan.
Listen, I'll listen real quick. I agree with the decision of playing Paul Reed over DeAndre Jordan, especially in this series, right? There's going to be series moving forward that you probably don't want to, But my only issue, and I'm going to keep running back to it until people start fucking listening, not you, Chrome, people without a basketball IQ, is, listen, he brought you energy tonight. Whoop-de-doo. He had 4 fouls in 11 minutes. Like in 11 minutes. And that's the problem. It's not the problem can he play. It's the problem that he's fucking all over the place. And when you're talking about postseason basketball, you can't have guys just walk in and foul the world because then you get teams going to the line too soon, right? So that my only critique of Paul Reed, if he can slow down on his fouls and eliminate them, I want to see him over DeAndre Jordan all day and twice on Sunday. The only time I'll ever say maybe I want him DeAndre over him is maybe against a team that's a little less athletic.
I'll tell you what,
like up front, you know what I mean?
A matchup with Milwaukee with Lopez, I might want to see Paul Reed there because I don't know if DeAndre Jordan has the knees to keep up with the bigs with Milwaukee.
No, I don't know. In series to series, it tells. I got no problem with Paul Reed playing. I don't care. I want to play the best guy that gives me a chance to win, and I think his energy gives you a huge lift. This is
the ideal series, though, right? This is the ideal series for him to show us what he has. Can he be the backup going forward through the playoffs? And you always have DeAndre Jordan there in your back pocket. He's there if you need him. But I like Doc's rotations today. I felt like the right guys were on the floor at the right time, and you can see it looking at the stat sheet. Everybody filled up the stat sheet or contributed somewhere. And listen, I think the way he managed their minutes down the stretch allowed you to have a 37-minute game for Joel Embiid tonight. You know, and these guys looked like they were fresh on the court. So I thought for Doc, it's only one game. We'll see how it goes forward. But for your first, putting your best foot forward this year, in my opinion, a very crucial year for Doc's job, I thought that he put his best foot forward tonight. So I have to think he came out of this a winner.
Absolutely. He absolutely came out a winner. Sorry, right, real quick. He absolutely came out a winner. I mean, he outcoached Nick Nurse tonight. And the other side of it is when you have a team that brings energy early on, that's more talented, it's going to help you as a coach. And that's some of the things we say around here is like, man, listen, Doc's not a bad coach. But, you know, if your team's coming out with no energy, it affects you as a coach. If your team's being outworked on the basketball court, it affects your X's and O's, right? So everything comes together and you need the perfect storm, right? So players win, and credit to them as a coaching staff. Their guys were ready to play tonight. So even bigger than the X's and O's, right, Chrome, is they were ready to play basketball tonight. And you're 100% right. His little line changes per se, stuff like that, I thought he did a tremendous job with. And, you know, a tremendous job of, obviously, in this whole coaching staff of them also preaching and letting guys know, like, hey, like, these guys are the ones that are hot tonight. Make sure we keep them going.
So Chrome, it's funny because I was either going to go Doc or I was going to go with the guy I'll name in a second. And like you said, Tom, Chrome, and if anyone's just joining us, and if you're wondering why like Maxey isn't our player of the game, we talked about him for like 35 minutes.
Yeah,
so,
he's
like,
obvious player of the game.
Yeah. We gave him his roses, you know what I'm saying? Justifiably so.
We hung his fucking jersey tonight from the rafters. I mean, my goodness gracious. You know what I mean?
He made the sign. He made the board.
Listen, Jordan. There's Jordan, Kobe, there's Reggie, and then there's Maxey, baby.
There's one guy on this basketball team in terms of young guys that you're allowed to overreact to. Okay? Just for the people out there. Like
Paul.
No, like B-Ball Paul is like the most overrated guy in the history of basketball. Like you would think B-Ball Paul is better than Tyrese Maxey. My point to everybody is that's the guy you're allowed to overrate or overreact to per se, not overrate. Tyrese Maxey's the guy we're allowed to, you know, overvalue and say like, oh man, how good can this guy really be? Like that's the guy that you can freaking circle jerk around when he's not getting enough touches, right? Or not getting up enough shots. Like that's the guy that everybody can clamor fucking for. That's what drives me crazy about our like fan base and every fan base is like, it's like the backup quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, you got to play Paul Reed. Like Doc said, this isn't a Paul Reed fucking tour. Like, we're trying to win a championship. Like, if we play him, like tonight, you'll play him 10, 11 minutes in the postseason. He ain't ever going to play more than that because it's Joel. So that's a great, hey, go play 10, 11 minutes. But I do like, in the last thing, Chrome, I do love how Doc played him tonight. I do love how to fuck you to the media, how he played him tonight. Because it does. If you're sitting up on the podium and you got to answer that many Paul Reed questions, I would probably walk out. Like me personally, if I was head coach, I would say, hey guys, this was fun today. I'm gonna go get a basketball team ready to play basketball.
I'm gonna go Tobias Harris for reasons we talked about earlier. I definitely think it's his best playoff game. Again, the aggressiveness he came out with. And again, they had, I believe they had 31 points, Maxey and Tobias combined just in the first half. So it got it started. And again, it took pressure off of your two main guys, which is gigantic. You said,
he had 13 too, so that's why you got a huge lead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to ride, like, you know what I mean? Like to think about it early on, like to your point, like, and Joe had 13 and a half. So it's not like he's on pace for 26. So he's on pace for a good night. And
I think Harden had what, 11, 10?
I think he was in double figures too.
Yeah. He definitely had at least 10.
Yeah. So I mean, you're four doggies, you're four roofers, all in double figures, at halftime. Good luck finding a team that's beating you.
Yeah. It was extremely refreshing because you basically had Harden just sit back and play facilitator, and you had Joel play professional rebounder, for the lack of better term.
And an honorable mention and another game ball toss to James Harden, right? Because I thought he was tremendous, making the right decisions. You can see how he gets collapsed on even at this age. I mean, when he goes to the basket, there's three guys there all the time, and he's done a really good job for the most part. He'll make his mistakes with it, right? But for the most part, did a phenomenal job of dishing and moving the basketball, and that's going. Listen, the reason we outcry for Tyrese and Tobias even more than even when it was just them and Joe, right? Is that this guy's going to get you, like, not in a Ben Simmons way. Like, this guy is going to get you open looks come playoff time.
Like, because he's a threat. He's a threat. Simmons never was.
He's just a simple threat on the basketball court, and him knowing that too. Like James Harden at this point of his career, knowing like, hey, I could probably get myself to go for 30, right? Like, and just be ultra aggressive all the time. But you see, watch it with our eyes, and the unselfishness is he's really making a point that he knows he's playing with a lot of talent to get guys involved. Is that going to be perfect all postseason? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying game one and his little tenure here so far, he's done a really good job of getting guys involved. Now those guys got to hit open shots. Does that mean does that mean we never need a Harden go-off game? No, that would be a lie. Like, we're going to need him in certain games to really show he can score at a high level, or at least a 25 to a 28er, right? So, I mean, this was the perfect storm tonight of everybody else, or your two guys that need to step up in this postseason, really stepping up. And you're going to say, well, Harden's got to step up. I know that. But the two other guys you really need, if you want to be a championship contender, right, you need Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris to play like this. Because if they play like this kind of confidence, the rest of this postseason, they're a tough out.
And I never understood that. You need James Harden to step up. Like, okay, would I like more efficient shooting? Sure. Would I like him to, not look as old as he has a little bit on some of the drives? Sure.
Yeah.
But to me, the kind of game he put up tonight, 22 points, or what was it, 21 or 22 points, 14 assists. That's what you need. I don't need Joel and Harden to step up. I'm not worried about what I'm going to get out of them because I think it's pretty consistent. You need the other guys to step up because that's what's going to allow Joel and James Harden to play their game as well. It's going to open up more opportunities.
For
so
everybody.
This whole narrative of James Harden needs to step up in the playoffs, Joe needs to prove he's an MVP. They're going to fucking do that. I'm not worried about that. James Harden's going to get what he gets. I need the other guys to step up. I need Danny Green to shoot a little bit more efficiently. I love Danny Green. I always have.
Win by 20, and Danny's over 5 from 3. So, I mean,
awful.
You factor that kind of stuff in. Daryl says, Harden playmaking is the X factor. Whether he has 30 or 19, his 12 assists are worth so many points itself. No, I mean, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's the point. Absolutely. You're going to listen, if I'm getting 12 assists, 14 assists from James Harden every night, and he's only putting up 15 to 20 points, awesome. That to me is him stepping up.
Red Sam,
the 3 is the big one. 4% that's 3 is where I hang my hat on, because like I don't really care if you're You're 5 for 15. Like if you got to make his threes. That's his game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I need you at least 40% from three because I believe he'll go to the line enough, and I believe he'll get, as these guys continue, if these guys can continue to light people up, he'll get more one-on-ones going to the rim. And if he does, right, then that's where he starts to become a big-time scorer and a big-time factor.
Red Sam brings up a great point talking about Tobias that I didn't even think of this before we came on, Tom. He's struggled recently against Toronto. So I actually looked it up just to be 100% sure I remembered correctly. If you were to guess, and again, regular season, you could say it's, it doesn't really matter. His last 2 games against the Raptors, he had 5 points and 8 points. His last 2 games against the Raptors. And then the only other one before that this year was 19. So, I mean, he was well over his average. He's averaged in his career against the Raptors. Yeah, I mean, he's averaged in his career against the Raptors just over 16 points a game. He had, 10 more than that tonight?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was tremendous, and he was efficient, too. And, Tobias is never going to be a guy who's going to jack you up 18 to 20 shots. It's not his game. So, if he is putting up 14, 15 shots, like, how efficient is he with it? And tonight, it can't get much more efficient than that.
I guess the only other thing to keep an eye on, and again, we probably won't know until the morning, the status of Scottie Barnes. And obviously that sucks. Like, you got idiots all over social media being like, "Oh, Joel, dirty player. He did that on purpose." You don't step on somebody on purpose in real, like, it's freaking basketball. It's going to happen. It sucks. But obviously if he misses a game or two, that's, I had before the series, I had Scottie Barnes as my X factor because what he does is kind of like a Maxey plus. Like, you don't expect a rookie to, even though he was, drafted top 4 to do what he does, but he could really be a matchup nightmare if he gets going. So if he misses a game or two, that's going to kill him.
Well, I sent you guys a picture that I saw. That was nasty, and it's very unfortunate. You never want to see that happen for anybody. So we'll see. I've been trying to look up and see if there's been any status updates. I haven't seen anything as of yet, but I got to be honest with how ugly that looked. I would be shocked if he comes back for the playoffs this year, at least this series. Yeah.
And the other one, who was the other? Sixer legend Thaddeus Young got hurt. He broke his finger. Or I don't know if it was a break, but on the play where he went down to the floor. So he had some kind of thumb injury or finger injury because he left too. So they came out banged up tonight.
So I guess this is encouraging for Scottie Barnes. His X-rays came back negative. Okay. So he is getting an MRI. I guess tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
He'll probably be a game time decision on Monday, if I had to guess. Again, if things don't come back really bad.
I would be shocked if he's back next game. I could see him missing a game with that. I mean, that's a painful injury right there.
Because that's gigantic because, I thought before even the game started, I didn't like, if I was, just looking in the Raptors perspective, I didn't like Nick Nurse's adjustment to go small right out of the gates. I trust Nick Nurse. I think he's a very good head coach.
Agreed.
But I didn't like that. I almost thought to myself, he kind of jumped the gun. Like, adjust to that in the first quarter if you need to. Don't start out like that because that's going to promote Joel Embiid to do what he does, especially in the paint. And you're not going to really push him to the perimeter. I understand that you're going to try and push him to the perimeter defense-wise, but it didn't work. But if you don't have a Scottie Barnes for a game or a couple games or, God's sake, for the rest of the series, then you have to then elevate Ochua, who's been their small ball 5 anyway, but obviously he wasn't in the starting 5 tonight. You're going to need him to play, or you're going to need Kem Birch to play. Again, it's kind of like what we talk about when you elevate guys off of our bench. Where are you making up those minutes? Scottie Barnes is one of their 4 main factors on that team. So that's a gigantic injury if he misses time.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they even come close to winning this series if he's not available. If you think about it from their perspective. But no, listen, I don't have a loser tonight because it would be somebody on Toronto. I mean, maybe my loser. I don't know. There just isn't one. There just isn't a loser. Sixers played. Everybody that played well. When you win a game by 20 in the postseason, I'm I'm not in the business of hitting losers.
Yeah, I'll award a loser if we go up 3-0. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. If like the we talked about the loser was Nick Nurse, but okay, he's going to make the adjustments, and we'll see what they do in game 2.
Yeah, I almost don't want to feel like Nick Nurse like owns realty in my head. His real estate, sorry, in my head. So I really don't want to loser him. I mean, I guess he called Danny Green a loser, but I mean, I'm not going to lose anybody on the team that just won by 20. I know he's over 5 from 3. I get it.
He did look like a Raptors spy. He did look like a Raptors spy.
Probably is. But I can't loser anybody when I win by 20. I just not in the business of doing that one.
My losers are the officials. I thought, especially the first half of this game, was awfully called.
It was a lot of.
I didn't agree with Joel Embiid's flagrant foul. I thought that was bullshit.
Yeah.
And I there were and I will admit it went both ways as well. But particularly really early in the first half of the game, there were some real phantom calls there. Real interesting calls that they made, that they took some liberties on some shit. So I'm going to give, and I'm not an official complainer, but I thought it was pretty ugly tonight watching them. So I'm going to, just to have one, I'm going to go with the officials. This team did not call a very good game, in my opinion, tonight.
Yeah, most don't. Most don't.
Par for the course.
Spill says loser B-ball Paul. I mean, guy, he hates B-ball Paul more than I do, I think. What's Red saying? 11 bench shots between Niang, Milton, Thibault, Reed. 24 points from the bench, 8 from 11. Not sustainable, but getting 18 plus from the bench consistently would be huge. And that's sort of around the number, we talked about before the postseason, or just in general, with a top-heavy team. If you can get 18, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. That's not always going to guarantee you a win, but it probably puts you with, that leaves you in a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe VanVleet, you could put him as a loser, particularly because I think his foul trouble really affected how effectively he was able to play. It's particularly on the defensive side. So maybe if you're looking, and it's okay to go the other way. I thought VanVleet tonight really handcuffed himself really early with those early fouls.
Allegedly, according to people that overheard the game, I don't know if you could actually hear it on the broadcast, in that little scuffle between Embiid and Siakam, VanVleet went running over to Embiid and called him a kitty cat.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why he's talking smack when he's got 6 fouls and they're down 20, but do you?
Yeah. Loser.
Yeah, I'm not a big Freddie guy.
I like him, but that shit was nonsense.
Yeah, it's never been. Like, I don't know. I mean, they gave him a lot of money. They can. Robert says, I mean, this is a good name. Gary Trent was awful tonight for them.
Yeah.
He's an easy loser. Fred shot well. Gary did not. So
friggin' Freddie he had a couple rainmakers in the third. I thought it touched the friggin' ceiling. He had one over Tyrese, and then the other one was over friggin' B-ball Paul, and Paul was jumping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather was in the house tonight.
Yep.
Good.
He was there.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that. I'm looking here now. I didn't even know Korkmaz's got minutes.
I didn't know he got minutes either.
We left with about 4 minutes left. He must have played that last 3 minutes when they started taking people out, because I didn't recall seeing him play either.
Good for him. Happy for him.
Right now, Darryl, it's the team right in front of us. I don't even want to look ahead.
It's themselves. That's their biggest threat.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because if they lose the series, it's because of that. Like, again, the Raptors, they play hard, they're talented, really good head coach, all that. Credit to them. They have championship experience, unfortunately, from 2019. But again, you played smart basketball tonight. And you had that big lead. And this was before Maxey went off. That's all you got to do to beat this team. You got to play smart.
If I was to venture down just to answer the question, I would say whoever comes out of the Boston Brooklyn series, I think, is going to be our biggest competition, to be honest. And I agree with you, though. If we get out of our own way, I think that we can beat anybody. But I'm happy those two teams are playing each other in the first round, because those are the two teams, me personally, I would have not been as confident going forward.
Yeah, I'm as much as I was dreading and I had this going 7 just because of the matchup and everything, I would much rather be in the bracket of Raptors, Heat, Hawks than Brooklyn, Celtics, and Milwaukee. And I guess Bulls, even though the Bulls probably won't win a game.
Yeah, let them all beat up on each other and knock each other out.
Is Lonzo back?
No, he's shut down for the year.
Yeah, he's done for the year.
So, yeah, I mean, is Vuk back?
Yes, I believe.
All right. I mean, they'll win a game or maybe 2.
Just because DeRozan.
Yeah, DeRozan, Levine, and Vuk is still scoring. So I mean, that might be a closer series than we think, but maybe it's not. You never know. These series are always weird. I don't know what Chicago how they matched up against them this year. I assume not well, because Chicago.
No, they didn't beat any winning teams.
Yeah, so I assume because they didn't beat anybody. Maybe they get one.
Chicago's like the NBA Eagles, where last year we didn't beat any good teams. They're the Chicago Eagles.
Denver's down 19, 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. Jokic 23 and 8. He's 11 for 23 from the field, over 3 from 3-point.
I thought that's great. Hope they get swept. Freaking Jokic.
They might.
I hope so. And again, I don't hate Jokic. The media's made me hate Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, I like the guy. I can't knock him because of everything that everybody else is saying.
Let me just tell you what. If Joel Embiid did what he did to Markieff Morris, if he did that, we're still talking about that.
I agree. I had no problem with that, by the way, but
neither did I. You don't turn your back when you have a hard foul. Don't turn your back.
Well, I mean, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but for me, Morris is a cheap shot artist. Somebody finally gave it back to him, and then he cried about it. That's my issue with it.
He's always been.
And there are boys, they're Philly boys, right? I always like them, but there's a part of me that really likes the Morris brothers, but they're also cheap shot artists.
Oh, I'll take Marcus as in a free agency signing. I'll take him when he becomes available.
In a heartbeat. Absolutely.
I didn't want him on this team for years.
Yeah.
Spowman
said F Jokic and his ugly looking brothers.
They are. Listen, I don't like the guy's a special talent. I mean, if you have eyeballs and you watch the league, it's pretty clear who the best player is. I hope he can use that as motivation. I hope Joel. We're trying to win titles, and titles shut up everybody. And if you can go find a way to win a title, I don't think he'll give a shit about that award. So it really, that to me would be the best thing is they just use it all as motivation.
See, I knew this was coming. I'm ashamed of the Raptors fan base for taking this long because we're an hour and 3 in. I knew this was coming. Joel will get his. Can't be a dirty player all series long. Karma is you know what? # rookie of the year, Scottie Barnes Raptors.
I'm literally laughing inside reading that.
Not with them, at them. I'm laughing at this comment. First time in NBA history somebody's gotten stepped on.
Yeah, I don't pay that stupid shit any mind. I mean, that's just too dumb. If you think he's trying to hurt Scottie Barnes, I mean, then fine. Live your life in Toronto. Live your life there. Tough place to live.
Yeah, try to live your life.
I do think
great strip clubs out there.
I do think. I mean, we're watching another young kid, come into his own too. Right?
Yeah.
That's going 7.
But I mean, I do like me some Minnesota per se. I do think they're tough. They're tough and young. They're not really
going to get a guy like Patrick Beverley on that team was the perfect veteran to put on that team. The energy he brings,
Listen,
He's
maybe
the right
they
fit
were
for those young guys.
Chrome. Maybe they were celebrating for a reason, and they're kissing babies.
That was what I have to say. Why that game was fun to watch, but that was one of the most bizarre celebrations. I mean, you really looked like they won the NBA championship. It was insane.
I
don't want to rain on it because I mean this is only their second playoff appearance in like 20 years.
Oh, they're a dumpster fire. And I actually the other night I went back and I looked at like some of their draft picks the last 15 years. Listen, I think it was a little silly. But again, I have to reflect and be self-aware. When the Phillies, if they ever make the playoffs again, I'll probably react the same because it'll be so foreign. And two, we are the same fan base that it rained confetti in Game 3 against the Celtics when it was. Remember, we thought we won, and it was actually a 2 from Bellinelli, and it went to overtime, and they had to clean it. The overtime got delayed because of the confetti.
Yeah.
So I have to remember, like, it was a little silly. Patrick Beverley, I don't know if you should be crying, but I'll leave it alone. I'll
give him a pass just because he beat a team that got rid of him.
Yeah. And he wasn't happy about the way it went down either. So I think that was very emotional for him.
Mm-hmm.
But crazy.
I mean, listen, celebrate all you want. But you better celebrate. You better go win the next time out. And credit to them, they did.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to win the series. I don't know, but they're definitely a tough out. They have 3 guys who can score. You know what I mean?
They're a fun team to watch.
And Russell had a terrible game. Russell played awful, and they still won.
Because the kid was, he's going to be a good player.
Special.
He really is. He's such a great athlete.
Good attitude too. He's like, I'm not going to call him another Maxey, but like you could tell he very much enjoys the game of basketball. Like I'll never look at him and say, I don't know if he loves basketball. He loves it. He loves basketball.
Yeah, I think so too. But yes, Edwards is a great player. Or trying to become a great player in front of our eyes, right? Mm-hmm. One of those. And the playoffs can be a real coming out party for guys. And Crum said it earlier too. I mean, for Tyrese, this could be a big coming out party. But again, you go to Game 2 now, and Game 2 is. Right, you gotta take care of home court here. You have to absolutely take care of home court because Toronto's been a little house of horrors for us, per se, almost like Miami is for our Phillies. So you have to take care of business at home, and then you're playing a little house money up there. You don't want to lose 2, but you really only got to go there for 1. You really got to then win 1 there. So maybe they go take care of business in 4 in a row. I don't know. I'm not going to go there. But I do think Toronto probably finds ways. But if no Scottie Barnes, I don't know how. I'm trying to find ways for them to win a game. And it really become, Freddie and Siakam, having days, which could easily happen too. So, and Norman Powell probably won't shoot 2 for 11 every night either. So, they're gonna have their moments. They're definitely going to have their moments, but can we withstand them and can we keep playing great basketball like we did, for 1 game?
Yeah, the last thing I'll say, Tom, to your point, they would need Ochua to have another one of those games against the Sixers where he looks like Ray Allen, where he's just a monster.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, again, unless you get a Bones Highland performance from somebody like that's like a 9th man on their bench. It's gigantic.
I meant Gary Trent. I feel like they're like the same guy.
They didn't go in the trade. No, they did go in the trade.
Yeah, they did go in the trade with each other. That's why it's always in my head.
Before Portland traded him away for like pennies, which I don't understand. But anyway.
Yeah, the one thing I'll just add here at the very end, I'm almost disappointed that Minnesota and Memphis are playing each other in the first round because they're such good young up and coming teams.
Yeah.
That I would love to see them highlighted each individually against some of the more kind of year in and year out present teams and let those young guys kind of be highlighted. It's a fun series though. And I would love to have seen them in a separate series against more established teams to let those young guys really show what they can do.
Exactly, Krim. I was looking at the standings before it all got, solidified, and I was hoping that Minnesota would draw either the Warriors or the Nuggets. And again, like a lot would need to happen. It was just seeding. But to your point, if it was like Minnesota Warriors and then Memphis Nuggets, I would have much rather have enjoyed that. Or even the Jazz. You know what I'm saying? Just a team like that.
Yeah.
Well, boys, great shit tonight. It's nice to talk after Sixers postseason win. Great way to start the postseason. Couldn't have started it any better. Hey, now we're on to game 2. Let's go win fucking game 2. Take control of this series. All right. And then we can, finish these guys off. We have played great basketball on the road. So, if you can win 2 at home, I think you're feeling really good about going in at worst splitting up there. Right. And it would be great to try to maybe go up 3-0, but I don't want to, count chickens before they hatch here. So I'll make sure I slow down on that. But, you couldn't ask for a better first game in a lot of aspects that we're concerned about. So, check, there's game 1. Your energy was there. Can you match it? Can you match it the whole series? Right. Or enough to get out of it with a win. And then, hey, then we're on to the second round, and I'm not going to go, begging for a certain team or not a certain team. Like, bring on who's next, and then we can figure out a way. How can we win another series? Because, hey, the goal for this basketball team is obviously trying to win it all. But in reality, hey, you got to get past the second round, right? And then we can start figuring out how you match up versus people. But for right now, it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust to me, and I'll be very firm about that. And again, you lose in the second round. It's just because of how many second rounds you lost in. It could go 7 and it still feels like a bust because you just can't get through it. Yep. And the huge thing this basketball team needs to do and take steps forward, because if not, guys start to get worn out, right? And guys like Embiid will get worn out of constant second round exits and start to feel like maybe he needs it, right? You guys know what I'm saying? Like people start feeling like they maybe need to change the scenery, whatever. You don't want that to happen here with any of these guys. So let's really get over the hump, clap your hands, everybody, and let's go.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I was reading something too. But we are brought to you every post game by FanUp. FanUp is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use our promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. It's a $50 value. FanUp, you can find them right on the Apple Store. That's Chrome down below. Ryan Brodo. I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, we obviously are going to have Phillies post games consistently getting rocking next week on Tuesdays and Thursdays for everybody. That's outside of the shows we're already going to have sort of post games for anyway, because shows will be live. So we're going to bring a little extra next week, and we'll have a Sixers post game Monday night for everybody after a big game 2 win. So let's go. We love you all. 10-9-8, motherfucking 76ers.